Monza, the scene of today's Italian Grand Prix, round 11 of the World Championship, is the oldest Grand Prix circuit currently in use, and it positively oozes with tradition and history. Here is the banked track, no longer in use, but this is the original Monza, first used in 1922, where today's Italian Grand Prix is going to be held, and that's the scene of the fastest Grand Prix ever, won by Peter Gethin in 1971. And today's race promises to be an absolute cracker. We expected it all to happen at Monza, and it has, and most of it is to do with McLaren. In a major policy statement, McLaren have confirmed, first of all, that Ayrton Senna is joining Alain Prost as their second driver in 1988. And they've also confirmed that from next season onwards, they'll be using Honda engines. Now, in a situation where they've been tremendously successful with the TAG turbo engine, what could possibly motivate them to change?
My own vision for the next few years is that some of the major manufacturers are going to come into Formula One, and what most teams are today will probably not be capable of getting the job done in the future, and therefore we are, figuratively speaking, changing gear and putting intensification into our future programs that hasn't really been seen so far in Formula One.
Now, McLaren's use of Honda engines next year is going to be at the expense of Williams, because Williams are not going to have Honda engines in 1988. Some people say that McLaren's gain is Williams' loss. But what does Frank Williams think?
Well, certainly there's no wailing of gnashing of teeth here at Williams. We have a very strong program for next year. A new car, maybe with active ride, with a Judd V8 engine, which will be very competitive in normally aspirated terms. And we wait with interest to see just how much horsepower the turbos will actually be able to race with next year. It may not be as much as people think.
There are effectively only 4 men in the Drivers' World Championship now. Nelson Piquet, 11 points ahead of his countryman Ayrton Senna. Nigel Mansell still in there with a fighting chance in 3rd place. And in 4th position, the reigning world champion Alain Prost. Williams look as though they have the Constructors' Championship in their grasp, a long way ahead of McLaren in 2nd position. But McLaren just 1 point ahead of Lotus in 3rd place. Ferrari, on their home ground, are trailing badly.
And in 90-degree heat here at Monza, in pole position on the starting grid for the 3rd time this year, it is World Championship leader Nelson Piquet using for the first time ever the Williams with active suspension. Nigel Mansell is 2nd on the grid, and he's been on the front row of the grid for every race this year. Then the leading Ferrari, 3rd, Gerhard Berger. 4th, it is Ayrton Senna in the Lotus Honda, and Alain Prost, the world champion, is in 5th place. Then Thierry Boutsen, who's gone very well in the Benetton, 6th ahead of his teammate Fabi. Michele Alboreto in the 2nd Ferrari is way down in 8th position for his 100th Grand Prix. Riccardo Patrese is 9th, and his teammate De Cesaris is in 10th place. Derek Warwick is the 2nd highest British driver in 12th position. Martin Brundle, a lot happier with his Zaxby's car, is 17th, and Jonathan Palmer is in 22nd place on the grid, and he is the fastest 3.5-litre car. Well, believe it or not, after Austria, where there were 2 false starts before they got the race away, another one here in Italy, when Riccardo Patrese stalled his Brabham on the line, but fortunately it was actually before the green light had gone, so no danger. And that meant another warm-up lap before the start of the 50-lap Italian Grand Prix. It's okay this time, and Mansell surges away. Nigel Mansell Mansell went away into the lead as they went into the Rettifilio, but already Nelson Piquet has taken the lead. Berger is third, Prost is fourth, Boutsen is fifth, and Ayrton Senna is sixth as they thread their way through this tricky series of bends, and nobody has gone into the sand.
It's a very serious traffic jam towards the back of the field then. They virtually had to come to a halt. And it was interesting at the start then because Nelson Piquet was very, very slow to react to the green light and made quite a tardy start. Mansell got his car moving noticeably before, and yet Piquet was still able to outpower Mansell to the first corner. So Nelson Piquet leads, Mansell second, and certainly in practice the speed trap times of Piquet's car powering across the start-finish line were noticeably faster than those of Nigel Mansell, which does suggest that his engine's got a bit more power, and that certainly looked like it at the start then.
And here they come, Nelson Piquet leading, then it's Nigel Mansell, there's Berger, there is Boutsen, there is Prost, Ayrton Senna, Michele Alboreto well up and round the parabolica. They take that at about 170 miles an hour. They're coming through to complete lap one, and it's Piquet, Mansell, Berger, Boutsen, then a gap. Prost is fifth, and Senna is sixth. And an absolute cacophony of sound with Gerhard Berger in third position, closing up on Nigel Mansell, and Piquet is making a break for it. Berger is all over the back of Nigel Mansell. Williams in second place, and in fourth position, Boutsen in the Benetton is right with Berger, who's going for the second position now, but Mansell closes the door. That is the Roger series of bends. Second, third, and fourth, and Boutsen is through, and it is second place. Boutsen up into second place. Fantastic.
And that was pretty hairy stuff there. Mansell, in fending off Berger, arrived too quickly at the chicane, swung wide, and Berger, with the enthusiasm of a Ferrari driver in front of his home crowd, was a little bit over-enthusiastic then, and just gave Mansell a bit of a biff, but he's up to third place now. So Berger third, but that allowed Boutsen a nice little gap to nip through into second place. So Mansell has dropped back, courtesy really of his own mistake then, and just arriving a little bit too quickly, as Prost is now challenging Nigel Mansell.
And that is Nakajima, Satoru Nakajima, off and in the sand trap, and he's going to find it very difficult indeed to get out of that. Somebody's lost a part of the side pod. It looks to me like part of a Brabham side pod, but we'll take a check on that. As the second and third then, Boutsen and Berger, followed by Mansell fourth. There is Senna harrying Prost, who is in fifth position, and under the bridge of the banked circuit and down to the Ascari bend goes Piquet. Berger third, Mansell fourth, Senna coming up into fifth place ahead of Prost. So Senna has moved up a place. There is Michele Alboreto in the second Ferrari, who is seventh. Down to the parabolica, they're doing 195 miles an hour as they approach that bend. And Berger is the quickest man, I think, on the top. No, Boutsen, 130.428 compared with the lap record, 128.1 held by Theo Parvin. And we are now on lap 6 of this 50-lap race. And leading the normally aspirated race at the moment is Philippe Alliot. Well, there's Alain Prost, obviously in trouble. He's dropping back, and just to prove it, his teammate Stefan Johansson is now ahead of him.
And there is Alboreto's Ferrari. It's back to you. And that side pod we saw being removed from the track was probably his, because he has got a naked radiator on one side of his car.
There is Piquet leading, Boutsen looking closer, Berger in third position, Nigel Mansell is still fourth, there is De Cesaris who is scoring, so it looks as though the second Brabham is in trouble. Ayrton Senna just going past there in fifth place. And Mansell, as you can see, there he is in fourth position, has closed the gap gap between himself and Gerhard Berger. There is now 0.75 seconds between Mansell in 4th place and Berger in 5th. Senna is 4 seconds behind Mansell in 5th position, and there's the Englishman catching the Austrian Gerhard Berger. Stefan Johansson is in 6th place, and Alboreto into the pits for something which is obviously not a tyre stop, because as you can see there is no furious activity around the wheels of the Ferrari. Another retirement question mark for the unfortunate Michele Alboreto. But Piquet, as I say, very much in command, and if he wins in Italy, there he is, with Boutsen coming up fast behind him, with Mansell shaping up to take Berger as they come down to the Parabolica. Mansell going for 3rd position, and if Piquet wins here in Italy, he would have had 3 wins and 6 second places. And now, is Mansell going to take that 3rd place from Berger?
Well, I can tell you one thing. Berger is not going to make it easy for him. Mansell probably with a flick of the boost switch to get a little bit more boost. Powers past Berger on the start-finish straight, and so Nigel Mansell moves up into 3rd place, and that'll be very important for him. Really needs a win here.
Now Mansell is in an ideal position to pass, and he's going for it, and he's through. Nigel Mansell moves up into 2nd place behind his teammate Nelson Piquet by passing Thierry Boutsen, who has got Gerhard Berger now right behind him. And it's clear to me that the Benetton Ford is tiring, because Berger has made up a lot of space, and I don't think it's going to be all that long before the Ferrari is up into 3rd position, because there is Boutsen. Now the 3.5 litre category on lap 21 is being led by Philippe Alliot, who is 15th overall. In 2nd position in the 3.5 litre category is Philippe Streff, who is 17th behind Nakajima, overall that is. And 3rd position in the category is Ivan Capelli, and Jonathan Palmer, who started fastest on the grid in the 3.5 litre class, is currently in 4th place in the class and 19th overall. And now this is lap 21, and Piquet has completed the 21st lap. He's on to his 22nd. Now Mansell, we missed Mansell, there he is, into the pits. Apologies for that. Mansell slid into the pits unobserved, and the race order on lap 22 then is Nelson Piquet leading Thierry Boutsen by 9.6 seconds. Gerhard Berger is in 3rd position. Ayrton Senna is in 4th place, and Nigel Mansell, having made a tyre change, observe that, tyres, Nigel Mansell on lap 22 then, so we can expect him to go the rest of the race on the set of tyres that he's using, is in 5th position, ahead of Stefan Johansson, who is in 6th place. Not very far off half distance as you look at Boutsen, Senna and Berger in 2nd, 3rd and 4th places. And significant there is the fact that Ayrton Senna is challenging as you look at the 2 Ligiers, over which there has been so much wrangling in the practice session over their Megatron engines. And Senna now is up, and he is ahead of Boutsen. So on lap 23 out of 50, approaching half distance, the brilliant Brazilian double Grand Prix winner in 1987, Ayrton Senna, has clawed his way through the field. He's got ahead of Mansell, of course, who is now down in 5th position by virtue of his tyre stop. He got ahead of Berger, he got ahead of Boutsen, and he's now pulling away from Boutsen and Berger. He's in 2nd position as you look at the leader. Now look down the course for the yellow car. That was the Zaxby. There is Ghinzani in the Ligier, followed by Arnoux in the Ligier. There is 2nd place man Ayrton Senna on his 23rd lap, followed by 4th man Boutsen. The Scarlet Ferrari of Berger is 5th. And I will give you the gap between Nelson Piquet, race leader on lap 24, and the second place car of Ayrton Senna. It is 12.1 seconds.
And Boutsen and Berger went for the pits then. So Senna now on his own, and Boutsen, and they get away absolutely in line astern. And a tremendous fight out of the pits to get to that first chicane. And there we are, that's the result, won by Boutsen, but they're sliding around a lot on the cold tyres. And Boutsen nearly made a mess of that. So they raced into the pits and they continued to race out of them.
And thanks to that masterly departure, Thierry Boutsen is now in fourth position, with Berger fighting very hard indeed. As James has pointed out, although their tyres have been preheated, they will still not quite be at racing temperature, but Boutsen made it. And Nigel Mansell has just broken the lap record.
Yes, a 1:27.4, which has really smashed it, and that's nearly over a second faster than anyone else. And Nelson Piquet is now in the pits. There is Nelson Piquet making his stop, which looked a bit of a slow one, and that won't please the Brazilians one little bit. So he will have lost time on the road to Mansell, courtesy of that. And in fact, there they are together. So the battle of the Williams is really joined, because Piquet, all his lead over Mansell was lost in the pits. And remember, Mansell has the warmed-up tyres on, so Mansell will be very anxious to pass him now, while he's got the tyre advantage before Piquet gets his new ones warmed up.
And this is the half distance, lap 25. Ayrton Senna leads in second position. There he is, Nelson Piquet. In third position, just behind him, is Nigel Mansell. Both of them have changed their tyres. And now we're seeing a battle royal between the two arch rivals in the Williams team, with Piquet defending his position, moving across to the right, knowing that it is Nigel Mansell, the man who he would most like to beat in the Italian Grand Prix, who is there behind him. And look at that, that was Mansell off the course there, over the curve, in his efforts to get out of the Ascari bend, right on the tail of Piquet.
Yeah, so this is the opportunity that Mansell will be looking for, with two slower cars in front, a bit of traffic.
And you're looking at yet another scrap, the scrap between Boutsen for fourth and Berger. Senna leading 12.5 seconds, and Senna is really extending the life of his tyres as Piquet goes through and passes Christian Danner in the Zach Speed, who immediately tucks in behind the Brazilian, much, I'm sure, to the irritation of Nigel Mansell, who wanted a quick run out of the Ascari bend. He will have to get past Christian Danner, and he did so. That is Eddie Cheever out of the Italian Grand Prix. And Martin Brundle, going better than he has gone in a Grand Prix for a long time, is up into 8th position and will conceivably finish in the points for the second time this season. He was in 5th place at San Marino, but now on lap 32 out of 50, Ayrton Senna still leads, but by a diminishing margin, which indicates to me that his tyres are going off, because Nelson Piquet is cutting into the advantage that Senna has. It's now down to 5.5 seconds. You saw Ayrton Senna, you saw a flash behind him of Piquet, but look at this, because Berger is ahead of Boutsen, and you saw it happen, and that means to say that the Ferrari with the Austrian on the wheel is now up into 4th place. A marvellous fight for that position between the Ferrari and the Benetton. And meantime, Senna continues to astound me with the way he is keeping his tyres intact.
I'm quite sure now that Senna is not intending to stop for tyres, and by looking after them so carefully in the early part of the race, at the moment he seems to have done himself a very clever trick and out-fumbled the others, because he's maintaining his lead. He's 6.5 seconds ahead of Piquet still, and appears to be able to pretty much match Piquet for speed.
And there you see the pit with Alain Prost, who is totally out of this race, and therefore I think totally out of the World World Championship. He rejoins the race, but Alain Prost is not going to finish in the points in the Italian Grand Prix. And that destroys any chances or hopes he may have had of being world champion for the third year in succession. And Mansell is dropping back now.
Yes, and Mansell's engine sounded a little bit rough to me as he went past, and that would be consistent with the fact that he's dropping back quite sharply.
It is beginning to look more and more as though the 1987 World Championship is going to be between the two Brazilians, Nelson Piquet and Ayrton Senna. And Senna, if he wins here, will close the gap between himself and Nelson Piquet by 3 points, and every point is going to help as the season draws towards its conclusion.
And that's a new lap record for Nelson Piquet.
Well, Piquet has taken 1 second out of Senna's lead as out of the Minardi gets Adrian Campos to retire yet again. The little Spaniard has failed to finish in any of the 11 Grand Prix of this year.
Well, Mansell now over 20 seconds behind Nelson Piquet and starting to fall back towards Gerhard Berger. At the moment, Berger is some 9 seconds behind Mansell. Certainly lapping quicker than he is.
Yes, race order, lap 39. Senna, 5.6 seconds ahead of Piquet. Lotus Honda ahead of Williams Honda. Nigel Mansell is out of the reckoning unless either Senna or Piquet hit problems. When I say out of the reckoning, I mean from the point of view of a win. Then in fourth position, Gerhard Berger with Boutsen in fifth place, and you can see that the gap between them is some 5 seconds. And then a long gap before Stefan Johansson appears in sixth position, ahead of seventh place man Theo Fabi. There's only about a second between them. Ayrton Senna, with a superb tyre-preserving drive in his actively suspended Lotus, is leading, but by a decreasing margin all the time. It's down to 4.6 seconds now. Philippe Alliot off, and he's done it again because Alliot was leading the 3.5 litre class, as he has done several times in the past. Well, Riccardo Patrese in the Brabham, the man who's tipped for the second Williams seat next year, out of the Italian Grand Prix. De Cesaris is out of the race. Farini is out of the race. Comparatively few retirements, but unfortunately they include Derek Warwick and Eddie Cheever. Look at Ginzani, who is 8th, being lapped by race leader Ayrton Senna, and he is on his 43rd lap, and off goes race leader Ayrton Senna. That's blown it, he rejoins, but his tyres will be covered in dirt and muck. So now Senna's cool is going to be well and truly tested. Has the car been affected? That was a quite superb recovery. The crowd is going bananas because now Piquet is in the lead. Nelson Piquet has taken the lead with that off of Ayrton Senna.
So there we are, we see it again. He's down the inside and he gets it all skew-whiff under braking there. Just pressing on a little bit too hard with the back markers, with the pressure from Piquet behind him, and that was the result. But as I say, he was pretty lucky to keep the car moving and to be able to get out of that without getting totally bogged down.
Off goes Jonathan Palmer and pushes Nigel Mansell onto the grass. But Nigel Mansell, with a bit of rally crossing, manages to keep on the track, back on the track. But Nigel Mansell, just as he wouldn't be thanking Ayrton Senna, will certainly not be thanking Jonathan Palmer for that. And Senna is certainly catching Piquet. The gap is 2.5 seconds, and I think that is enough, with 2 laps to go, including the one they're on, for Piquet to hold the lead, just. Well, the crowd at Rome is watching the giant television screen rapt with interest, because it is a rivetingly exciting Italian Grand Prix. It must surely be victory for Piquet, in which case win. Victory in 1980 and 83 and 86. He's just rocketed round and managed to stave off Ayrton Senna despite the younger Brazilian's efforts.
Piquet has got it at the moment, but he's got to pray that there's no misfire from the engine as he sputters for the last drops of fuel. Tremendous battle we've had between the two Brazilians, and really quite a good race.
Nelson Piquet is going to win the Italian Grand Prix by the closest margin that we have had this year, and a magnificent victory, but the checkered flag has not gone out. The checkered flag, there's the official who should have shown the checkered flag. Now, this is an incredible development. The checkerboard showed that they were on their last lap, but the checkered flag is now being shown, and a hoot of derision from the crowd. As in Austria, the finish line official has failed to notice the winner crossing the line, but with jeers and shouts and catcalls from the crowd, it's Senna. Senna run out of fuel.
Yeah, he crossed the line though, and he was back right off as he went over the line, so Senna judged his fuel right.
So, race order at the end of a truly dramatic Italian Grand Prix. A superb third victory of the year, and query a World Championship clinching victory for Nelson Piquet in the Williams Honda. Ahead of, in second place, Ayrton Senna in the Lotus Honda. Third, Nigel Mansell in the Williams Honda. Fourth is Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari. Fifth is Thierry Boutsen, and sixth is Stefan Johansson. And that means that Nelson Piquet is now even further ahead of Ayrton Senna in the Drivers' Championship. Nigel Mansell is still third, and Alain Prost is still fourth, but right out of contention. In the Constructors' Championship, Williams look as though they've got it made, but up into second place ahead of McLaren has come Lotus. Well, after that Italian Grand Prix, we know that some of you like to keep in touch with why people retired and where they finished, so here are the details.
It will be very, very difficult because my tires vibrating more and more all the time. And I was trying very hard because second was no good for me. I want to win the races. I was planning in the next 6 races to go. I have to first place or nothing, and that was my thinking, and I was trying hard that I could.
What happened when you went off?
Not much. I just could not stop the car on that situation when Ghinzani stayed in the middle of the circuit, and I just could not control the car. In fact, I was very lucky to still come back because I thought I was going to crash.
Well, there we are. In 2 weeks' time, you will be able to see these two heroes again at the Portuguese Grand Prix on Grand Prix, so join us.